Welcome back to this YouTube channel. So last time we talked about strings, we talked about indexing, and we talked about slicing. And just so you know, what we're doing on this course is walking through the Python documentation. I strongly believe that these documentations are very, very essential. And if we have something like this, it's going to help to understand what really goes on underneath the hood. I really do suggest that you take time to learn a language first, understand the basic construct of the language before you dive into using frameworks like Django and other things like that. The same advice is what I would give to any other programming language. So say you want to learn React, it's better to learn JavaScript and learn TypeScript and then go into React. So just not to take much of our time talking, I just felt I needed to mention that. But let's begin let's begin from where we left off. So last time we talked about indexing and we talked about slicing, and just to recall, indexing, we said it's to get, of course both of them are used to get substrings, but in this case, and we recall that we said that in Python there's no character data type, and so when you think of characters in Python, you think of it like a string that has just one value. And when we talk about indexing, all we just need is just that one value, right? But when we're talking about slicing, we're talking about getting substrings that are more than one value. And so that goes beyond the character. We're talking about the substring. And so let's continue from where we left off. What can go wrong when we're working with indexing? So say, for instance, before I even go into that, and we talked about this slicing thing. And so if we have something like this, for instance, one of the things that the way I quickly figure out what I should do here is, and of course don't forget that, and maybe I should just take this up, so I leave that, or let me bring that word down. I just don't want us to lose track of what we're working on. So I'm going to comment this out. I'll bring it right here so that it's easy for us to see what we're doing. All right, so we have this word, we have this string stored in this variable called word. And we want to extract from starting at index 2 all the way to, but not including index 5. How can we quickly know what it's? So the way I do it is now, and this only works for non-negative indices. Now the length of a slice is the difference of the indices if both are within bounds. And take note of certain conditions. One, non-negative indices. The second thing you should take note of is if both are within bounds. So if you have 2:5, for instance, it's going to be that the length of this character, that the length of the string that gets produced here, that gets output to us, will be 3. And let's just see that in a moment. And as you can see, we have THO, which is 3 characters. And so each time you see maybe a question that asks you something like this, just note 2 things. You've noticed that this is still within the range. That's the first thing. Okay, that's fine. There's no negative indices here. That's also fine. The next thing I would do is to do 5 minus 2. That gives me 3. It gives me the length of the substring that will get output for me with this. Now, what happens if I do 2 all the way through 7? Let's see what happens. We get THON. And just to demonstrate to you that it doesn't work if both indices, if both indices that we're trying to call are not within the bound. If one of them is outside the bound, we can't say 7 minus 5, for instance, and then we say, okay, we're expecting 5 characters from here. No, we would be wrong. And that's because there's really nothing like this 7th index. And just so we see that in action, let me try to call that 7th index here word. Let's say we want to call the 7th index. If I run this, I get this error, index error, string index out of range. And so this is out of range because it doesn't really exist. And let's confirm that. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. So the highest index that this word has is 5. Even if we try 6 here, we expect to see the same error. But if we try 5, however, we of course should have n as our output. And so n is the 5 is the highest. And so if we do something like 2 through 5, we are still within the range, right? And just so you know, again, we talked about this, that if it's negative, if you have any of these things, any of these indexes as negative, then we have a problem. Because if we do 5 minus 1 would give us 6. 5 minus 1 will give us 6, right? And that's not what we get here. As you can see, we don't even have any output here, just so you see. All right, so that's one thing that you should notice, or you should note rather. So if you have 2 through 5, just do 5 minus 2. You know how many characters you get out of it. As long as 1, there's no negative index here, and 2, both of these are within the bound, if both indexes are within the bound. And that's one thing I felt I should talk about. The other thing, which of course I've already shown, is if you try to do word of 42, you get that error, index out of range. However, if you try to do print word 2 through 42, or let's say 4 through 42, it's going to give you an output. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you might think, oh, this is wrong. We'll get an error here. But no, it's not. So let's see. We have this ON. So out of range slice indexes are handled gracefully when used for slicing. And you should take note of that. So if indexes are out of range, it's gracefully handled for you if you're using, if what you're doing is slicing. However, if what you're doing is indexing, then it doesn't gracefully handle that for you. And as you can see, we have an error here. So that's all I want to show you in this video, and I'll see you another time. Thanks for watching.